Jupiter is one of the biggest wind roller coasters ever built and also happens to be one of the most obscure. Located all the way at the bottom of Japan at a park called Kijima Kogen is a 1992 wind coaster sporting over 5,000 feet of track. To this day, only 4 wind coasters are longer: the Beast, the Voyage, T-Express, and Shivering Timbers. When Jupiter opened, it was the only wind roller coaster in Japan, and to this day is one of only 3, all of which were manufactured by Intamin, a company primarily known for their steel coasters, who hasn't actually built a wood coaster since 2008. The ride's designer, Curtis D. Summers, is famous for some of the most iconic wood coasters of the 80s and 90s, including American Eagle at Six Flags Great America, Hercules at Dorney Park, Mean Streak at Cedar Point, Mighty Canadian Mindbuster at Canada's Wonderland, and even the original Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. So quite a portfolio, even though not all of them necessarily are going to be considered fan favorites. There certainly were some memorable ones, and Jupiter opened as Intamin's 3rd ever wind roller coaster, following American Eagle and Pegasus at Efteling, which is now defunct. It features a classic PTC train, reaches a maximum height of 138 feet, and a top speed of 57 miles per hour. It is a visually impressive ride, but maybe what makes it stand out the most is its location. Kijima Kogen is nestled in the mountains, and the surrounding views of Jupiter are jaw-dropping. This is a terrain coaster through and through, and it's inspired probably one of the most unconventional layouts for a wood coaster. In some ways, it feels like a typical out and back, but with the ride being positioned on the hillside, the station for the ride is several hundred feet away from the lift hill. It reminds me of an old Colossus at Magic Mountain situation where you have to travel this really far distance just to start up the chain lift. But Jupiter does it better than any other wood coaster that I've seen, with one of the coolest pre-lifts in the world. In our group, we were making comparisons to RMC with the amount of speed and airtime that you're getting on these first couple hills. But this was done more than 3 decades ago. You have just enough speed departing from that station that you're going through all these hills, threading through the structure, absolutely coming up out of your seat and getting crazy laterals before it chucks you up that lift hill. You haven't even gotten to the main event yet, and Jupiter starts off with a bang. Who would have thought that the pre-lift would end up being one of my favorite parts of this ride? It is wildly impressive, the pacing, and actually, a good consistent pace can be found throughout this experience. Jupiter has a lot of track, but very little dead space. The most you'll get is a couple drawn-out transitions, but oftentimes it's done in a way that keeps it exciting, typically in the form of lateral G-forces. I hope you're good friends with whoever's next to you, because if you weren't close to them before, you will be by the end of this ride. As you enjoy this approximate 30-second climb up to the top, taking in all these beautiful views, you'll crest over facing the top of the park and the Kijima Kogen Hotel and that nearby volcano. And this is where Jupiter dares to be different. From the top of the lift hill, most wood coasters would either go straight into the first drop or slow turnaround to enter a drop. Jupiter starts this downward bank to the right, building up a considerable amount of speed to make a 180-degree turn, repositioning you back towards the valley, and now you're about to enter your big main drop with a stunning view of this top helix directly ahead and a sky coaster to the left. Now this big drop is pretty much all speed. Even when we sat in the back rows, we weren't really getting airtime. And unfortunately, that is kind of a recurring trend with Jupiter, is not every hill is created equal. Some will send you flying up out of your seat, and others will try but not quite get there. This drop is all about momentum, but the hill that immediately follows at the top part of this helix, that is the craziest airtime on the entire ride. It is 100% ejector. You abruptly shoot to the top of your restraint, and it is so surprising. It's such a sharp incline and then just completely levels out at the top, so that's how you get that just perfect apex. And I felt like this set the stage for what the rest of the ride would be. I'm thinking, oh man, there's going to be like a lot of ejector airtime on this ride if we're getting this already at the beginning. And the reality is, that is not the case. The rest of the airtime that you'll experience on Jupiter will be mild floater. None of the other hills are quite profiled the same. But if anything, it adds to its quirky nature, because how many other rides would throw you into a helix at the very start? Like I said, the positioning of this ride is so unique that because of where it is on the hillside, they need the layout to stretch out to the left, and the only other way they were able to do it at the time is just this gradual downhill turn to the right, eventually rising up, crossing over that section of track that you just passed through, and now you have the out and back portion of Jupiter. We have 2 hills directly in a line. The first one I would consider a dud, doesn't really do anything. The second one, however, has some mild floater airtime. The right-handed turnaround is just slightly banked, so you're getting some decently strong laterals here. Your body's thrown to the left and then you level out, gradually transition up into the mid-course brake run, but you do not slow down. And if you sit in the back rows, this little drop off the mid-course actually gives decent air. Like I said, none of the other moments from here on out are particularly going to be mind-blowing, but I'm going to cut it a little bit of slack because this thing opened in 1992, and it's just an impressive structure visually, even though it has its quirks. Like, instead of going into another traditional hill, you gradually transition to the left, rising up to then enter another like half helix directly underneath the helix that you went through earlier. It's a drawn-out transition to position you back towards that out and back section, but this time you're threading through that wood structure. Bunch more lateral forces here. And for those sitting in the back, this is going to be another drop off the turnaround that'll be pretty good. And as you experience Jupiter's home stretch, you're threading right in between the pre-lift and those airtime hills from earlier. We got two more parabolic hills. The first one is probably my second favorite moment of airtime on the coaster. I was really surprised how much I came up out of my seat, and I was thinking, oh, maybe the next one will do the same, but nope. The last hill, nothing really happens, and then you hit the brake run. So like I said, it's very hit or miss on this thing. Kind of sends mixed messages. You can see how much Intamin has improved from these old wood coasters versus like when they did their prefabs. That's decades of innovation right there. But you know, for being as old as it is, Jupiter runs pretty solid. We saw the ride operating with one train. That train holds 28 passengers of riders at a time, 4 people per car. As with any other PTC train, if you're riding on that back row where it's a wheel seat, it is going to be a rougher experience. But I didn't feel like Jupiter had any jackhammering. But it does have a bite. I would say, though, that bite comes in the form of like side-to-side shuffle. You primarily notice it in those lateral transitions, those turns. I would consider it bearable, though. It really could have been much worse. On other wood coasters, the parts that are usually the most uncomfortable are like potholes in the valleys, when you're getting a lot of positive G-force and it just shakes your brain. And I didn't think that Jupiter did that, which I really appreciated. I give props to Kijima Kogen for maintaining this thing. That being said, a more thorough retrack from a company like the Gravity Group or GCI, I think would go a long way. Both companies have done an excellent job maintaining wood coasters, especially in the case of the Gravity Group, putting in their pre-cut track. They've also been doing some slight reprofiling to give hills that used to maybe be underwhelming actually make sense and deliver. And I feel like they could do wonders to Jupiter. I've also heard a lot of people discuss how they think that this would make an excellent RMC coaster. And while I'm not denying that this layout has a lot of potential, there's a ton of structure that you could incorporate to throw in inversions, ejector airtime hills, maybe a stall, overbank turns. It would be great. But something tells me that is not in the budget of Kijima Kogen. During our visit, the place was a ghost town. We were some of the only visitors there. At one point, I even got a Zen ride on Jupiter. I can't speak if it's like that all the time, but this is a park that has not received major investment in a very long time. It's been 2 decades since their last coaster, so I'm not getting my hopes up. I don't think Jupiter needs to be RMC'd, though if it ever did happen, certainly it would get me back to the park, I can say that. I'd be very intrigued to try whatever they come up with. But if the park ever decide they want to restore Jupiter to its original state, breathe new life into it, I think GCI or the Gravity Group could do wonders with this thing. So, for Jupiter's final score, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I had fun during my several rides in on this attraction. I appreciate it for the novelty, even though it doesn't place high on my overall wood coaster rankings. It was still one of those bucket list rides, one of those coasters that I didn't know if I would ever get to experience, and I'm so glad I did. So let me know down in the comments below if you're familiar with Jupiter, if you've had the opportunity to experience it, what did you think? If you're new to the channel, please go check out other coaster reviews we've done, including rides from all around the world. Go see if your favorite is on there. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.